Okay, so I did a review for Wicked for Good. You want to go check out that review, go check it out. Here, we're talking spoilers. So if you have not watched the movie, do not watch this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell. So once you watch the movie, you come here so we can discuss the movie, spoilers, and all of that. But here, we're just talking about the ending and our thoughts on it. And do we see a Wicked 3? So let's get into it. And as I said, hit the subscribe and notification bell. Wicked for Good. How is that ending? So pretty much this film takes place years after Wicked, and you basically see Elphaba still fighting for the animals. You see that Oz has become more dystopian and authoritarian. Madame Morrible seems to be pulling the strings a lot more because the wizard's a little bit on his elixirs here. Cultural elixir. And the wizard's elixir. Okay, gave me an idea right there. Gave me an idea. But we do see that Galinda has become Galinda the Good and is sort of the spokesperson for the wizard and Madame Morrible to keep everybody in Oz at bay as they are getting rid of the animals and locking them up. Some have to escape. They are refugees at this point. See, Galinda is now engaged to Fiyero, and this is unbeknownst to Fiyero, so it's kind of funny to see Fiero's reaction when Galinda said, yeah, we're engaged. I thought it'd be great for both of us, and he's just like, I had no clue. Clearly, we see that Fiyero still in love with Elphaba, and he is wanting to find her and be with her. Linda says if she wanted to be found, she would have already made her presence be found, but she doesn't, so leave her alone. Let's get married. So what we see happen next is Elphaba trying to establish to Oz that she is not the villain here, that she is trying to help Oz be more united, that it is the wizard who's trying to get rid of the animals and keep them sort of like on lockdown of sorts. But the people don't listen because Madame Morrible does a great job at writing propaganda, as we see throughout the film. She is the main one trying to get rid of Elphaba in order to keep her power at Oz. The wizard's more like just whatever, loopy all the time. One day, however, when we see that Fiyero and Galinda are going to get married, we go back to Nessa and Bock. Bock is now helping Nessa out as governess, and Bock is decided that he needs to leave now. He doesn't want to be in Munchkinland. He needs to go and tell Galinda how he really feels. This makes Nessa get pissed at him, and she decides, you know what, Bock, you're not going to get out of here because I'm going to put a thing where Munchkins can't leave unless I give him approval. This makes Bock be more bitter towards Nessa now that he is like a slave to her. Almost. During this time, we also see that Elphaba comes to ask Nessa for help in order to get the word out to Ozians and everybody here that the wizard lies and Elphaba's just here to help. Nessa, of course, doesn't want anything to do with this. She says that Elphaba abandoned her at her weakest when their father died. She tries to make it up to Nessa by making her slippers be able to make her float so she can feel like she did during the Oz Ball. But this is when Bock comes in and declares that he is now leaving and that's it. Nessa, of course, gets angry about this and starts chanting a spell from the Grimoire that actually makes Bock's heart disappear. The only way that Elphaba can save him is to turn him into a Tin Man. So he turns into a Tin Man, and now he hates Elphaba forever and decides to make it his mission to get retribution as Nessa just sits there in her own misery. We see that Elphaba then meets up with Galinda during her wedding day and decides to go pay a visit with the wizard. This is when Galinda and the wizard try to make a sort of like deal with Elphaba, like, okay, we'll meet your demands and all of that, and you come back to Oz and we all rule it together of sorts. I don't know what the hell, how that was going to work. Of course, Elphaba decides to say yes, and Galinda goes to go get married with Fiyero, but then Elphaba realizes that the wizard has a secret jail where he keeps some of the animals and decides that he's not going to let them go because some animals can't be trusted. Immediately, Elphaba frees all of them. Chaos erupts during Galinda's wedding, and we see that people have now realized that Elphaba is here as they send out the guards. Now, Fiyero is the head guard that is trying to get the Wicked Witch of the West, and earlier in the film we had seen he let her go. So now Elphaba knows that Fiyero clearly is on her side but needs to play sort of dumb in front of the wizard and everybody else. This is when we see that Fiyero comes across Elphaba holding the wizard with her broom, and he decides to help Elphaba escape by locking the wizard in his cage. So this is really bad for Fiyero, and this is why he decides to leave with Elphaba, and Galinda, of course, sees this happening on the day she thought she was going to get married to Fiyero. This breaks her heart to see Elphaba and Fiyero leave, and she decides to come up with a plan. Now, Galinda's plan here is to just start a rumor about Nessa and have Elphaba come, and that's going to be the way to lure her back as she has now escaped with Fiyero. But Madame Morrible thinks of a more horrible plan, and that's to kill Nessa. And the way she's going to do this is by dropping a house on her. And yes, that house is going to be Dorothy. So we're getting into the events of the Wizard of Oz now. So honestly, this was such a crucial moment because Galinda, out of anger and spite, was coming up with ways to get Elphaba back and sort of gave Madame Morrible that idea. But Madame Morrible took it to another level. And I thought that that was interesting to see sort of Galinda having this hate towards Elphaba because of what she did with Fiyero, but didn't entail on anybody getting hurt for it. And it kind of makes such an interesting character dynamic between Elphaba and also Galinda, as we'll find out later. Now, like I said, Fiyero and Elphaba go out and they have their time, but during this time, we also see that the house is immediately dropped on Nessa Rose and she is killed. Right before this, we also met the Cowardly Lion, as we find out it is the cub from Wicked, and that cub grew up to sort of resent Elphaba for taking him out of his home, he says, and now he isn't able to have courage for himself because they took that away from him. He was just sort of a cub and is now scared for the rest of his life, so that's why the Cowardly Lion is the way he is. So now we have the Tin Man, that's Boq, and Boq has no heart, and he blames Elphaba for it. We have the Cowardly Lion, who now has no courage, and he blames Elphaba for it. So they are going to eventually team up with Dorothy, which we see Dorothy show up for like 5 seconds of sorts. I think that's how much screen time Dorothy had. And Dorothy is then sent on the yellow brick road to go find the wizard by Galinda. Elphaba shows up to see her sister now dead, and her slippers have been given to Dorothy so she can make it down there. And we see Elphaba and Galinda have a little match here that kind of felt a little funny and weird at the same time, but I kind of liked it. How it was so out there and campy of sorts, with Galinda and Elphaba fighting with the broom and with Galinda's little wand that doesn't do anything, because Galinda's bubble works like by a contraption that's mechanical, but everybody thinks it's magic. She's supposed to have magic. And we see throughout the film that Galinda remembers her past of wanting to have magic as a young child and never understanding why she couldn't have magic. And I really think that added so much to her character and made her have so much more depth and be so complex, more than she was in the first film, which I really loved to see. But this is when the royal guard arrived to take Elphaba along, and Elphaba realizes that Galinda had something to do with what happened to Nessa, and she cannot forgive her for that. But of course, Galinda tries to plead with her that she did not entail for Nessa to be killed. It was just a misunderstanding. She just wanted a rumor to be spread for her to come out, but never for anybody to die. Elphaba doesn't really believe this, of course, because she feels that Galinda can't be trusted at this point. As the guards try to take Elphaba, we see Fiyero show up with the flying monkeys. Now, prior in the film, we saw that Elphaba released the flying monkeys. That was part of the deal with the wizard, and the monkeys have now decided to be on Elphaba's side. They want to protect her, and that's why they take Fiyero to go help Elphaba in this situation. As we see Fiyero hold a gun up to Galinda and says, "You let Elphaba go, or you'll be the reason that I end up shooting Galinda." Well, how are you going to explain that? So we see the guards let Elphaba go, but they take Fiyero as Elphaba flies away. And it doesn't look good for Fiyero, because even Galinda tries to plead for them to let him go, but now they have seen that Fiyero is a traitor in the eyes of the wizard, and they go to kill him. This is why Elphaba finally decides to tap into the Grimoire in order to save him by turning him into the Scarecrow, because a straw man can't bleed or die, so now he has become the Scarecrow. As we see that Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion go to meet the wizard, Madame Morrible has an idea. What if we get them to go find the broom of the witch, and then we get them to kill her, and that's how you say, "I'll give y'all what y'all want if you do this." The wizard decides that that's a good idea, as we see that they then go off with the rest of the Ozians in order to try and kill the Wicked Witch of the West, they say. And the rumor is that she can melt with water, something we've heard already from the first film, which obviously isn't the case, right? And I'm kind of curious about how this whole plan works, right? Because, of course, Fiyero is now the Scarecrow with Dorothy, and he's hearing the wizards say to them, "Go kill the Wicked Witch of the West." But I'm pretty sure that was something that was discussed maybe with the monkeys and all of that. This was a whole plan, because the plan finally goes into effect. See that Galinda realizes the horrible things that Oz is doing as she confronts Madame Morrible about this, but Madame Morrible says, "You just be quiet, shut up, and do what we tell you." This is when Galinda decides, you know what, that's it. She goes to try and help Elphaba out, and she meets her up at the castle, and this is where where we see that Elphaba has now taken Dorothy, and she decides, you know what, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Fiyero's dead. She gets a little piece of his garment from one of the flying monkeys. I'm just ending all of this. It's over. As we see both of them share a tearful goodbye and give us the powerful ballad that is For Good, and just incredible stuff right here. I really was feeling so teary throughout this one, and it was just an amazing performance from both Erivo and Grande. After the song, we see Elphaba tell Galinda to get in the closet and not come out till it's all over. We see Dorothy and Elphaba have a confrontation, and then Dorothy throws the bucket of water on her, melting her down until just her hat remains, and Dorothy seems to be able to take the broom now to the wizard. Finally see that Galinda comes out of the closet, see Elphaba's hat just there, but the flying monkey shows up to give Galinda the bottle that Elphaba always had, which is that elixir that the Wizard of Oz is always drinking. And she puts it together that yes, indeed, the Wizard of Oz, Jeff Goldblum, is indeed Elphaba's father all that time. This makes Jeff Goldblum's wizard really just completely crash out and break. And Galinda says, the only thing you can do now, sir, is you just got to get the hell out of Oz and never come back. We'll lie to them, because you're good at lying, she says. And Galinda now starts this process of taking back Oz and making it good. The next step is to take Madame Marvel and jail her for all of her crimes, including killing Nessa Rose. And we see the wizard fly off in his hot air balloon as Dorothy exclaims, how will I get home? Take me with you. But we do see, of course, in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy eventually goes home. As we see Galinda cleaning up Oz, bringing the animals back, uniting the Ozians once again, not like the wizard Madame Marvel, we get a little bit of insight into what happened to Elphaba, and that is she actually survives. Fiyero, as the scarecrow, comes back to where her hat is, taps on the trap door. Elphaba's just down there, and they eventually go beyond Oz to live happily ever after. As the Grimoire was left to Galinda in that For Good ballad, we see that it finally awakens for her, and she truly has magic now that she's able to use, as both Elphaba from Beyond Oz and Galinda in Oz are singing one more time together, almost acknowledging that they know they both are alive. It seems that Galinda is able to sense that Elphaba is alive, and that's enough for her, and gives a closeout chapter for these two characters, as we'll see where it takes them. Will there be a Wicked for 3? We'll see. So what exactly happened in the end? So in The Wizard of Oz, the Witch of the West is melted with water. And here it's just a rumor that Elphaba can be sort of quote-unquote destroyed by water as she will melt. And that's just because people say her soul's on fire and she's wicked, and it's pretty much what will melt her, right? In here, it was just a rumor that Elphaba let sort of continue on, and we can kind of deduce that she saw this as an opportunity to be gone forever, right? Because if she is dead, then people will stop trying to villainize her and seek her and all of that, and Oz can sort of go back to being at peace. There's no larger enemy here. This is the reason that Elphaba tells Galinda we shouldn't go out and try to reason with them, because I'll always be wicked, and for them they need somebody to be good. So if there's no wickedness, there is no good. And sort of they see how the world plays, right? You need a villain of sorts in order to make the people come together, and this is sort of the lie and the secret that Elphaba and Galinda will keep, that they knew that they were both good pretty much, but the people turned them into these larger than life figures. It's something that the wizard says at the beginning. We can tell them that I lied to them about everything and all of that, but they'll always believe in Oz because the lie is what works. The truth is what everybody agrees to in the end. It doesn't mean it's the objective truth. It's just if so many of us agree on something, that eventually does just become the truth. And the truth here that the Ozians were able to come together with is that the Wicked Witch is gone and no more, and now Ozians can live in peace and harmony, and Galinda the Good will lead that charge. And that's what they rather believe than to believe that maybe the wizard lied to them and make it more complicated. So they decide to just go with the simple lie here to keep up the standards of sorts. So Elphaba was able to fake her own death. Galinda, I don't think, knew that Elphaba was not going to die here. I think she truly believed that Elphaba died at this point and melted down. She didn't know about the trap door. It seems that Fiyero did, thanks to the flying monkeys. Maybe Elphaba let them know to let Fiyero know. And at this point, Fiyero was going to be dead, but Elphaba was able to save him by turning him into the Scarecrow. Of course, nothing can be reversed from the Grimoire, and we also see, of course, Elphaba gives the Grimoire now to Galinda to use, and Galinda's able to use it with her magic that she has now obtained. It seems that this power bond that she shares with Elphaba helped her to sort of tap into that magic that maybe she didn't know she had before, and is now going to be able to use it to make Oz a better place. The wizard is now gone. He's never coming back, and Madame Morrible has been jailed for everything she's done. And that's pretty much where the movie ends right there, like I said. And the wizard finds out that he is indeed Elphaba's father, and that's why she was able to have powers, because she was of this world and another world. And it's a very, very sad ending when you think about it, that the wizard ended up persecuting his own daughter in order to get power and to be more in control. And it is just a sad, sad story indeed. Boq, of course, ended up becoming the Tin Man because of the whole thing with Nessa Rose, and Nessa Rose shrinking his heart till it was gone. So the only way he could live was just to be a man made out of tin. So he didn't need a heart. And the Cowardly Lion ended up being a cowardly lion because Elphaba, in his case, he says, took away his courage by taking him away from his home and not giving him a choice or decision. And that's pretty much the resentment that comes from Boq and the Cowardly Lion towards Elphaba. They feel that they are the ones that put them in the situation they are today. We don't know what lies beyond Oz. There are books I've heard that are talking more about what happens after this. So if you want to hear me talk about those, let me know in the comments down below and we can talk about them and discuss if there is a future where Wicked 3 can happen or not. That sounds insane to say, but I think there are some books that continue the story on. So we can talk about those and what exactly we could see. But I think for now, Wicked's definitely done. And I think they're going to let it like marinate a little bit and see if people want more of it. I mean, just today we got another Hunger Games prequel. So don't say that it's out for good because we never know. But let me know what you thought about the ending for Wicked and what did you think about everything that happened. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.